everybody. Hello. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad I'm here. It's late. It's after 9 o'clock here in Eastern time zone, and I'm proud to still be awake. Usually still awake at 9. Not usually so alert at 9, but here I am. I'm so glad to be here, and I did not forget that I was coming today, but the middle of my day, got all haywire because I went out. I left the house. And not to like go grocery shopping. Like I met somebody for lunch in a restaurant. We had conversation. It was loud around us. This like post-pandemic life is really something. I'll tell you what. Hope it lasts for a while. Hey, Jennifer, thanks so much for joining. I'm so glad you're here. Since we've just got a comment, I just want to mention, I love a conversation. I love to be in conversation with you. And so comment, let me know you're here. Tell me something good, something terrible. Let's have a conversation. So it's funny because some days I have a topic in my 21-day challenge that nobody asked me to do. And I'm on day 15. And some days I've got the topic like 3 days in advance. I've got topic. And some days I wake up and I think, I don't know what I'm going to talk about today. Who talks for 15 days in a row? It's like a lot of days to come up with topics. Hey, Sherry, nice to see you too. Sherry and I were just in HR HotSeat together, and I'm going to talk about that and some other stuff. Yeah, so I had this day that went off the rails because I went out to lunch with a friend, and it was a delight. It was great. And also I came home and I was like pooped. I was so tired. I was going to go live this afternoon and I didn't. I did a little housekeeping work. And hey, Christy, I love it. People are following me from Hot Seat right here. So awesome. So I took a nap this afternoon, which like isn't the most unusual thing in the world for me. I love naps. I'm a big fan, but it wasn't what I was expecting. And then I did some contract work, working on some new business stuff that I'm really excited about. And then I woke up from my nap, took the dog for a walk, and then it was time for HR Hot Seat. So first, I want to tell you about HR Hot Seat. And I couldn't tag HR Hot Seat in my post because I was posting from Restream, but I'm going to go back and tag HR Hot Seat, or Christy or Sherry, if you want to tag them in the comments while we're chatting, that would be awesome. But so HR Hot Seat is, well, before I tell you what HR Hot Seat is, I'm going to tell you about the topic for tonight. So I'm going to talk about finding your people. And last night, Lauren Howard and I talked about networking. Whoops. Just got a little reminder for myself. I got to wake up early tomorrow. Hopefully I remember because now I've shut off the alarm. So I left the corporate world about a year ago. Awesome. Thank you for tagging, Christy. Thanks for tagging HR Hot Seat. And thank you, Sherry, for also tagging HR Hot Seat. So many fans in here. So I left the corporate world a year ago. And when I was in the corporate world, I didn't do a lot of online networking. I did live networking sometimes. I went to conferences sometimes. But it didn't occur to me to do online networking really until the pandemic started. And so I started doing it while I was still in corporate life during the pandemic, but lightly and more because I didn't know what to do with myself. And as I got more active on LinkedIn and as I started looking harder, I looked on Eventbrite, I Googled, I looked on LinkedIn for groups, and LinkedIn is not awesome at managing groups. So your notifications are spotty. And if you're in a group, you have to remember to go into the group and see what's going on. And I stumbled across HR Hot Seat. And for me, this was like a gold mine because my job formerly was HR, as an HR and operations and other stuff for 20 years. Now I'm an executive leadership coach. But HR is like where my heart is, even though I didn't like the career anymore after 20 years. And I didn't want to be in a corporate HR role anymore. HR people are one of my sets of people. And look, I don't want to like alienate any of the rest of you because I like a lot of people in a lot of professions. And I actually, my practice is, a few HR people scatter in once in a while, but I really work with like everybody, marketing, IT, you name it. I've probably had that client. But HR is like where my heart is. And I know how hard the HR profession is, because it is a profession filled with people pleasers, and which I'm using in a very positive light right now. And I know people pleasing can be very hard and very traumatic, but HR people are servant leaders, and really look out for the whole organization. And I know it sometimes doesn't feel like that when you're the employee, but man, HR covers just so much. And so I ripped myself out of the corporate world and went into business for myself. And I was like, nobody needs any HR stuff from me. I know HR stuff. How come I don't have anybody to talk to HR, to talk to about HR? And I came across HR HotSeat. And I went to the first meeting. And if you don't know what HR HotSeat and you're in HR or you're HR adjacent, it is this amazing group where HR people get together. A few people volunteer to be in the hot seat, and they give a topic that they want help on. And then we all go into separate breakout rooms and help a person with a thing, with management issues, with job search issues, with overwork, balance, like all hundreds of different topics. And there are a couple of warm-up breakouts beforehand. And just if you're in HR and you need community, you need to find your people, check out HR HotSeat. The one I went to tonight was the Chicago, which is the originating chapter, but there are a few chapters around the country. And so if you go check out HR HotSeat, you can find a chapter near you, or a lot of the chapters are still really doing virtual because, this world. So that's for me, right? That's for me. That's for HR. That's for Christy and Sherry. And there are more of you out there who are not in HR, who feel like you're sort of lost in a sea of people. And it's like going to a big college campus and just sort of looking around at all the buildings and all the people walking by and trying to find your place. And I went to the University of Maryland, and I remember feeling like that. My first day of college, my roommate wasn't coming until the next day, and everybody else had roommates. And we were going to some evening activity, and everybody was walking with their new roommate, and I was by myself. And that's a little bit what I felt like. I made friends. Everything worked out. College was amazing. Just in case you were worried about my progress and my socialization, I did okay. But my point is that feeling came back when I left my job. And I just felt like, well, now what? Like, who do I talk to? Nobody needs me all day, right? When you're in HR, when you're in any corporate job, you're in meetings, you've got impromptu calls, you've got, hey, are you available? You've got Slacks, you've got, there's always something going on, even when you're remote. And then when you start working for yourself exclusively, you're like, well, when's my next client call? When's my next potential client call? Maybe I'll just set up some networking calls so I have some interaction. And I still do all of that, but I found other stuff to do too. But I realized I needed community. I needed people. And HR HotSeat is my people. I'm in a couple of other groups. One of my goals when I left the corporate world was to have more fun in my life and to have like a baseline of fun and joy. And I was talking earlier today, actually at HR HotSeat, about being and doing, and how they're two different things. And so like fun is the stuff I'm doing, and then joy is like the way that I'm being and the way that I'm feeling, because I'm making my life more fun. And so I'm in a couple of virtual play groups that are, one is Play Polarities, which is run by Matt Elwell, which is a lot of fun. And it's on his website, so I'm assuming it's public enough that I can talk about it. Another is a private group where we people bring topics that they need help with, and everybody sort of brainstorms, and it's a really friendly group. And I'm in a book club, and I've got yes, play dates. Yes, Christy, thank you. Christy actually drew me to that, to play polarities. Thanks, Christy. You're a volunteer everywhere. Christy is one of the volunteers who helps HR HotSeat run smoothly, and she's awesome in so many ways. And so I am also, I go to a laughter yoga class online once or twice a week, which led me to becoming a laughter yoga leader certified myself. More on that coming down the line. But I'm going to get you corporate people laughing, so watch out. And that actually started on LinkedIn when Pete Can, who's the laughter man, asked me to do a live with him that was him leading laughter yoga with me on a one-on-one, which led me to look for laughter yoga. And all of these things have been available this whole time, but I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't looking for it. Thanks so much for coming, Christy. When I started looking around and I started figuring out what I was interested in and who I was interested in talking to, networking groups and fun groups all, hey, Lauren, I already talked about you. So it's like you were here. I referenced last night's networking call. And if you're just joining us, like Lauren just did, we're talking tonight about finding your people. So taking networking to sort of the next level and like narrowing down who you want to be with and who you want to be in a room with. And so I found all of these groups now, and I feel like I have a community of people. And my first group actually is a group that doesn't really, that's ominous. I only said good things about you. The first group was a group that no longer really meets, but it was called the Lone Wolves Club, and it was run by Kirsty Baggs Morgan, who, if you're not following or connected to on LinkedIn and you're in HR, she is like very much HR for HR and an awesome person. I'm just name dropping tonight. Like, I know all these people in the community. Just follow me and I'll tell you where to go. So this club or group was the Lone Wolves Club. It was for HR departments of one. And I met this bunch of great women in there who were all struggling at the beginning of the pandemic with like, now what, right? Like, how do we handle all this? What do we do? Pressure's on. What do we want to do? And it was in that group where I was inspired to pursue coaching full time. It didn't happen right away, but it was in that group where it started. And so for me, one of the great benefits of finding my people has been, first of all, I get support, which isn't something I used to consider for myself. I used to think about like, how do I get there and help people? And in fact, when I started thinking of pursuing coaching as a career, my first thought was, okay, I'll add it to my resume. I'll add more value to a company. I'll be in a coaching position at a corporate environment. Like, I still wasn't yet thinking about me. And being in a group of like-minded people and like hobbied people, or whatever the likeness is, gives you an opportunity to think about you and to get some support, and then also support other people. So I went to Hot Seat tonight, HR HotSeat tonight, which we mentioned earlier, and Christy put the link in. If you're in HR, she put the hashtag in, which you can follow to get to HR HotSeat. But I helped somebody in a room tonight with a few other people, with some stuff that they were working through. And I also was in a group earlier in the evening where I got some help that I wasn't expecting. I went into a little wellness circle and I learned some amazing new things that I'm going to start researching and talking about, that totally resonated with me, that I would not know if I wasn't in the group. And so how do you find your people? What do you do? And I say start with LinkedIn. Two places to go. LinkedIn is one, Eventbrite is the other. And LinkedIn clearly is everywhere. Eventbrite, I think, is in the US and Europe. I'm not sure where else it is. Search terms are your best friend. So you can you can search by hashtags, you can search by, your marketing networking, HR networking, healthcare networking. You can search for a hobby, laughing, whatever you want to do, right? You can search for stuff in the search bar on LinkedIn, and then when you hit search, you can search by people, you can search by companies, you can search by posts, and see what you find. Um, on Eventbrite, you can search for an event by any keyword at all. So you can search the word fun. You're going to get a whole bunch of stuff and you're going to want to narrow down from there. But you can find just about anything. And Eventbrite has tons of virtual events, tons. And some of them are continuous groups, some of them are one time events. The key really to finding your people is deciding you want to find people. Because for many years, I chose alone. I chose independent, and I chose it because I was so busy supporting everybody else that it didn't occur to me to find my own support unless it was a therapist, which I have been to and on and off for many years. And I find great support in a therapist. But it turns out you also can just have support in community, in networking groups, in friends. And I didn't realize that. And so when I learned that, looking around for places to go and people to meet has been so much fun. And one of the things that I do on a networking call, if I like somebody who I'm networking with, and I generally everybody's likable, but if I find that I have commonalities with someone, I ask them what groups they're in. And that's how I found these groups that work on play. Um, and I've recruited other people into them because it's a great way to find out from somebody who you connect with, like, oh, you like this thing, I might like it too. And the good thing with virtual is if you go into a room and you don't like it there, you just leave because you're virtual, right? Like you don't have to make a big like grand exit by walking down an aisle of chairs and leaving. You just hop out. And if you like it, you come back, you tell other people you like to come in there, and you're building your own community. You're finding your people. The key is to not go it alone. That's the thing we are all doing wrong. And I still find myself at certain times and certain days where I'm wallowing or I'm struggling with something and it doesn't occur to me to reach out. And then I'm like, oh, Lauren, you have people, you have groups, you have people. And I have to remind myself it has to be like an active thing. So I'd love to know for you, if you're watching in the replay or if you're live with me now, if there are any groups or clubs or activities that are virtual that you like going to that are full of nice people. And don't put your MLM group in here because we're not selling stuff. But just like, what do you do for fun? How do you connect with people for fun? How have you found your people? And then, when you're thinking about connecting on LinkedIn, first of all, if you didn't watch the live last night on networking that Lauren Howard and I did, please go back and watch it. It was awesome. And it made a lot of people feel really more comfortable. I've gotten a bunch of DMs and we got a bunch of comments on Lauren's page and on my page that LinkedIn is so misunderstood. Networking is so misunderstood and it feels really big and scary. And if you can break down some of the pieces of it, and a lot of the LinkedIn trainers are really generous with their advice on LinkedIn. So, follow some of them as well. But if you really use to learn LinkedIn, I'm tired. You see, it's after 9. I shouldn't have done a live after 9. If you really learn to use LinkedIn in a productive way, it gets less and less overwhelming. You make more and more friends. Oh, Danielle is saying she used to be a member of Toastmasters. I've heard awesome things about Toastmasters. I've never been a member, but I bet it would knock out my "and so" that I start every other sentence with for me. But if you really learn to use LinkedIn and you learn to search for events on Eventbrite and you start meeting people and you say, what groups do you belong to? What do you like? You're going to end up finding your people. And you can go with any interest. People talk about all kinds of things in clubs and in online activities. And you don't even have to leave your chair. You just have to be willing to take a break for yourself and create space for yourself so that you can be in something. Because the very worst thing when you join a group is to be in the group and be like looking down at your phone and, half paying attention because you're still trying to do work. So I say, offer yourself grace, offer yourself time, and offer yourself a challenge to find one group to attend in the next week or two on Eventbrite, through LinkedIn, or meet somebody. Reach out to somebody and ask them to have a networking call with you, and ask them, what do you do for fun online? How do you meet people in virtual groups? And be specific about what you're looking for. Because if they're like, oh, I'm in this group where we all refer people to each other so we can all sell our product, that may be for you. And that may be a great business opportunity for you. Or you may get in there and be like, oh, I hate this. I hate this so much. I don't want to be here. Virtual groups are not for me. So you have to try out different ones until you find what works for you and what's fun for you. When the pandemic first started, I tried doing some online improv. I had previously gone to improv classes, done a little bit of improv 10 years ago or so. And I was like, oh, I can do improv from home. And I found it really awkward. There were people in the class who were having a ton of fun. It wasn't fun for me. And so I didn't go back. But it didn't knock me out of doing virtual events. So give yourself time and grace and freedom to search, and you will find what you love to do. If you need help finding what to do, oh, we've got someone else. LinkedIn user. I'm still a Toastmaster. Great way to improve your public speaking skills in a fun environment. Helps many people progress at work. Many clubs are virtual at the moment. You can join one halfway around the world if you like. Totally true. You can be anywhere. Absolutely. And Catherine says, offer to exchange knowledge, showcase a skill that can help others. You are great at that, Catherine. Yeah, it is so welcoming when you tell people what your expertise is, even if it's like, I make the best peanut butter sandwiches. Let me show you how, right? Like, it doesn't have to be like an advanced skill. And I love peanut butter sandwiches. But if you've got something to offer, then yeah, absolutely. And maybe there's a group for that. Maybe there's a group of people who love talking about peanut butter sandwiches, and you mention you're good at peanut butter sandwich making and you want to help. And then somebody invites you to their peanut butter sandwich making club, right? So there's just so much opportunity, and you just have to do a little bit of looking for it and be open to thinking about what you might like. When I left my corporate job, one of my first things was like, I have no hobbies. I don't know what to do. And now I'm in all of these groups, and they're not, sportsy hobbies, which is never anything that I would be doing. And I sort of thought like, well, if I don't do coding and I'm not athletic, what kind of club is there going to be for me? And there are tons. There is something for everybody. So if you do something, tell me in the comments, shoot me a DM, let me know that you've gotten involved in something new that's fun. And I hope you have an amazing night. I will see you tomorrow for day 16 when I will have a special guest with me. Have a great night, everybody.